If you want a better quality snack on game day or for any day, who doesn't? Check out iowasmokehouse.com. Proud supporters of this channel, this platform from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Iowa Smokehouse offers a full lineup sure to satisfy you and your family's snacking needs with their thick and tender cuts of beef jerky, their flavorful meat sticks, or their delicious steak bites, and their ketchups, barbecue sauces, and salsas. You'll never need to look anywhere else. Tasting is believing. See how that's a fact at iowasmokehouse.com. That's iowasmokehouse.com, and use the code Hawkeyes for 15% off your total order. Hi, everyone. Here we are, talking Iowa basketball. All right, so before we get to our first caller, we're going to dive right into this. All right, dive right into it. I have been criticized in the past for being too hard on Kirk Ferentz. I've even had people say, why aren't you hard on Fran? I think that's a little bit inaccurate, all right? I call it like I see it, and I'm going to call it like I saw it tonight. This game was not lost on the offensive end. It was not lost on the defensive end. It was not lost because Laji Dembele was out with an injury. It wasn't lost because Iowa was held to, 3 threes in the night. This was lost by coaching. Fran McCaffrey was out-coached in this game. I'll explain why in just a moment. But first, we've got somebody who's inside Carver Hawkeye Arena as we speak. And so we want to get to not Coach Gary Close this evening. Coach is still under the weather, so please keep Coach in mind because he's dealing with an illness. And frankly, after watching that game tonight, I might be dealing with an illness come tomorrow. Let's go to Kyle, who is in Carver Hawkeye Arena. And Kyle, Section N,
Yeah.
With section N, where is section N? I was going to make a crack of attendance.
It's at we're at half court facing the Hawkeye. We're a little bit further down, but we just got moved up there because everybody's leaving.
So you got to get out of there pretty quickly. I know you wanted to speak on this game that you and I just watched. You were there. You were one of the few people that actually went to this game. Just give me your overall takeaways. You saw my kind of initial dialogue. I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I just really disappointed in a number of things as it relates to player personnel decisions and coaching down the stretch. And I place that on Fran McCaffrey.
Yeah. And to be honest, first of all, it was a sad night all around, from the crowd to the execution down the stretch. But Fran really did not seem all that into it down the stretch. And I was really confused by that, to be honest, because a lot of times we're kind of critical of him for being over the top and over emotional and all these kind of things. But it was interesting to watch him because the game just kind of slowly slipped away tonight. For a lot of different reasons. I think you could point to 5 or 6 different things. I think a better crowd could have made a 2-point difference tonight. The game was so close, you don't know what the difference could have been. But absolutely, he just didn't seem super engaged, and they really did not execute well at all down the stretch. Maryland, with about 5-6 minutes to go, I will actually give the fans that did show up tonight, all 3,000 or 4,000 of them, give them credit down the stretch. About 8 to 10 minutes to go, they started to get into the game, and for some reason that kind of turned Maryland on, and they just looked like they believed that they were the better team down the stretch, and it was disappointing to see, because to be completely honest with you, the first 25-30 minutes of this game, I was really, really unimpressed with Maryland. I didn't really think they did much well. Every Big Ten team has some good players. Obviously, Dante Scott, we know what they could do. What he could do. The big guy, what's his name? The big man down in the center. Reese. Yeah, he was very athletic, made some nice plays, but really as a team, they didn't impress me a whole lot. And all of a sudden, 5 minutes to go, they just flipped the switch, and I agree on the coaching side, but another thing to point out, I think you guys probably have seen this on TV as well, but in person, the fans were very, very upset at the whistle that Owen Freeman got tonight. He did not get a good whistle tonight, and I'm sure Fran will say something about it in his post-game interview. I'll be surprised if he doesn't. There were 3 or 4 times in the post that the fans got pretty loud because he got hacked pretty badly down low, and I'd say 3 of his 5 foul calls were very, very marginal at best. So that could have been a factor. I don't know. It was very disappointing overall.
Sports News wants to know where the Quinn Schulte return video is. After that game, we're talking about that. Anyways, so here's the thing I'll say about that, Kyle, and I got a little bit of a gripe with you. Owen Freeman has to learn to stay vertical. He does not maintain verticality. So I don't expect him to get a fair whistle when he's going up against Reese and against Jameer Young and these guys who've been in the league in the Big Ten forever. Like, you come into the game and 3 minutes to go and immediately come down with your right arm on the shoulder of whoever that was with Jameer Young. That's just stupid. It's just stupid. And I understand he's a freshman, right? He's a freshman. So I'm not going to sit here and rip him. But I think there were absolutely some missed calls on the offensive end for Iowa with Freeman inside. A lot of physicality. It's a physical game. This game was played at Maryland's pace. Kudos to Kevin Willard and the entire group for making this game a Maryland tempo style game. But he's got to learn how to stay vertical. The other thing, well, where do I start? First of all, I don't know why Brock Harding has had the ball in his hands as much as he did down the stretch.
Have we lost ball dominant? Really ball dominant.
We lost complete faith in Desante Bowen and Tony Perkins.
Yeah.
I mean, listen,
Tony Perkins had a great start to tonight's game, and then he disappeared. I couldn't find him.
He's disappeared because nobody made an effort to get him the ball. There's no concerted effort to get the best player on the Iowa roster the ball. Who is the best player on this roster right now? It's not Payton Sandfort. It's not Josh Dix. It is Tony, and it's not Owen Freeman. It's Tony Perkins. Yeah. And he was the player of the game tonight, RTI Threads player of the game tonight, 20-3. He didn't shoot a great percentage, but 9? He shot like 25 the other day against Purdue, and that almost didn't look like enough. He got 9 shots up tonight. That's coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And the same thing happened when Patrick McCaffrey came in. They gave him the ball 3 or 4 possessions out of 5, and he had, I think, 2 or 3 turnovers and a missed shot. And it's like, it just broke the flow of everything that was going on in the game to that point. Because I guess they didn't have a great flow going, but like, it really confused me because Patrick had the ball in his hands some, and then the Harding thing it's inexplicable why Desante Bowen just seems to be buried on the bench right now. I don't know. I thought the couple times he ran a pick and roll with Owen Freeman, it went really well. And then it's not a play we run again after it works twice.
Well, again, part of the issue is Owen couldn't stay on the floor because he couldn't defend without fouling. And maybe he didn't always get a fair whistle, but part of the problem is he needs to be able to stay vertical.
The last foul was definitely on Owen. The fourth foul, when he fouled the jump shooter towards the end of the shot clock, he did not go up vertically. He also did not touch the guy. So was it a good call? No, but can I understand why it was called? Probably.
Yeah. I just get so tired, and I know it's hard to do. I mean, neither of us played college basketball, but it's hard to maintain verticality completely, especially when you have a guy hanging in the air, coming at you strong, and it gets you with the body, right? And kind of takes the contact, so to speak, initiates the contact. But Ben Cricky's got a problem with it as well. This maintaining verticality until the last second, and then your arm goes down. I don't feel sorry for you at all. I don't care if you touched him or not. Yeah. You're just asking for a foul call doing that.
And that not even just offensively, but that last layup to end the game, Ben Cricky was so slow on that rotation. I mean, I know Payton Sandfort got beat badly, but Ben Cricky, I mean, he didn't even start to step forward until the guy was past the free throw line. Like, I mean, he didn't make any effort to, I mean, it wasn't an effort thing. It was an athleticism thing, but I can't say if Owen had not have committed that fifth foul and he was in the game at that point that he wouldn't have made a better contest.
I really wish we had Coach Close on with us tonight. Hopefully we'll get him back. The plan is to hopefully get him back Saturday. His health pending, but I think we do need to look again at the macro of all this. And the bottom line is Jahmir Young had a fabulous end of this game, but let's not forget that this is a reputation that precedes Fran McCaffrey coach teams of not being able to identify shooters, not being able to identify the hot hand, not knowing how to switch, not knowing how to defend picks. This is they only gave up 69 points because Maryland's not very good offensively. This is a defensive team. They're the best defensive team in the country, or in the Big Ten. They're allowing the least amount of points in this conference. But you just knew Jahmir Young was going to get the ball.
Every single person in the building who knew who was getting the ball. Every single one.
Frankly, I would have done everything I could to deny him the ball out of bounds. And there was no effort to deny him the ball out of bounds.
They allowed him to inbound with no contest.
Yeah. And it was basically Josh Dix versus Jahmir Young. And no offense to Josh Dix. Josh Dix is one of their better defenders. I think I'd probably go with either Tony or Josh in that situation. But the pick comes as expected.
He didn't fight that pick either. He did not.
They didn't fight any of it. Listen, they don't fight picks.
They don't.
Okay? So, and the second to last shot that Jahmir Young hit on the three, there was no effort by anybody to help on that jump shot.
No.
You have the drive to the basket, the game-winning bucket by Jahmir Young. And you mentioned Payton Sandfort getting beat. Cricky was slow to get over. Payton Sandfort cannot move laterally as it relates to defense. We know that. He's not a good defender in a one-on-one situation. So obviously they want isolation on Payton Sandfort. I get that. And I am by no means some defensive mastermind.
But why was he in the game at that point, by the way?
Great point. I don't know. Great point. Well, they don't. Who do they have right now that are lockdown defenders? Who do they have? They don't. Who do you turn to in that situation?
I would have had Josh Dix and Tony at the top of the key. I would not have had Payton Sandfort at the top of the key.
Stephen Bardo called for it. You didn't watch the broadcast, but Stephen Bardo called for a double team on Jahmir Young out of that timeout. And he made it clear, force someone else to beat you. And I said it as it was happening. I said, make somebody else make a shot. Yeah. I don't care if it's a wide open three in the corner. Make someone else score. Instead, you give an easy drive up to the basket. A layup off the glass.
I would have rather him had to make a third straight three than a layup.
And give credit to Maryland and Jahmir Young recognizing that Iowa probably was going to play the three. I don't know that Iowa played anything there, but he took what he had there. He knew he had Payton Sandfort isolated, And
That's dead to rights. Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like Payton Sandfort can give you 3-point shots on occasion. Ben Krikke is maybe been their most consistent scorer, but neither of those guys can move defensively. And we've known that for a while.
And if Jahmir Young wanted a 3, he would have got a 3 too, by the way. Like Payton was not up on him. That he did not get blown by because he was right up on him. He got blown by because he was slow.
One more thing, and then I can let you go because then I got to get at Carver. And you may see it later on Big Ten Network if you watch part of the game back. The second to last 3 that Jahmir Young hit, I believe that gave them the lead. The commentators didn't catch it. Obviously, the officials didn't catch it. I will go on the record and saying I do not believe that was a 3.
You think it was?
Now it's hairs and needles, right? Pins and needles, whatever. It was a hairline difference. But I watched that, showed it back. What's interesting is Jahmir Young's got, I think, white tennis shoes with a red trim on the front of his shoes, or maybe they're black shoes. I don't remember. One of the two with a red trim on the front of his shoes, and it looked like he was behind the line because I think the part of his shoe that was on the line was the red part of his shoe. I know that sounds weird.
Yeah.
But they did not look. I don't know. Maybe they looked at it in the next time out with about a minute to go. But I looked at it a couple times during the live stream. I thought that was a 2, and potentially that makes a difference down the stretch. But again, ultimately, you don't defend. Maybe the best scorer just best pure scorer in the Big Ten. You give them isolation over and over and over again. And here's another coaching blunder in all this, Kyle. Now, I mentioned 9 shots to Tony Perkins. It's ridiculous. He scores 20 points. And you know why? Because he seeks contact out. He's really good from the free throw line. And I will say this, in spite of this loss, I can say with confidence now, I have the most individual confidence in Tony Perkins, and it's not even close. Okay. There's nobody else on this team that I have more confidence in than Tony Perkins.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the thing that I've always wanted him to do more is be aggressive. And when he is put in a coaching position to be aggressive, he's now aggressive. And I love that. And that's where he's at his best. One more thing, and then I'll hang up here. The attendance was not great tonight, but and in the past I felt bad for them because I feel like there were times where they deserved more support than they've gotten. They need to dig themselves out of this hole because they are not an NCAA tournament team right now, and it's not even close. This is 2 pathetic losses at home to 2 teams that are average at best, and in Michigan's case, horrible. They need to go on the road and pick up big wins and get themselves back in tournament consideration before I hear anybody complaining about attendance again. Up until this point, it's on the fans to show up. They need to dig themselves out of this hole, whether attendance is good, bad, or whatever, because there's no excuse for those 2 losses.
Kyle, travel safely home. Appreciate you hopping on here, and we'll talk to you sometime soon.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, sir. All right. So there's my little spiel. Appreciate Kyle hopping on here for a few minutes. And maybe it sounds like I'm coming down harshly on Fran McCaffrey, but in the other part of this, I brought up Brock Harding having the ball so much. I would turn the ball over near half court in a situation where Maryland is pressing full court. And the 2 guys that Iowa has in the backcourt to kind of handle the ball and handle that pressure are Brock Harding, a true freshman, and Payton Sandfort, who has had a propensity for turning the ball over in that situation. He turned the ball over earlier when he was desperately trying to get a pass across half court, and it was intercepted by Reese. That made no sense. Fran comes back with an adjustment, has Tony back there. Should have never had Payton Sandfort in that position to be handling the ball in a full court press, in the back end of that full court press in the first place. Let's go to our next Iowa Smokehouse caller. Iowa Smokehouse is sponsoring our call-in line this evening. We've got Tony sporting the From the Hawkeye of the Storm merch. Tony, good to see you, sir.
I still think you had a little bit of a rant to go. I thought you preemptively went to Kyle. I think you probably need the floor for a little bit more, Cory.
Am I being unfair?
No.
You're a Fran. You called yourself a Fran lover the other night. A Fran lover, a proud lover.
Yeah. Nothing that's been said is wrong. I'm not going to.
I rarely come on here and talk about how this is squarely on the coaches, but this one is squarely on the coaches, in my opinion.
I have a little bit different take. I will say that I think he should have left Dix on Jameer Young a lot more. Because Dick started. Dick started the game on him, and if you look how Young started the game, and you saw that in the stat line, I think Dix's length bothered, and we don't have another long guard like Dix. I mean, Perkins has the wingspan, but I think Dix. I just think Dix on the defensive end was a better matchup with Young. That's just me personally.
Well, you know what they did in the first half, they didn't do in the second half, is they denied him the ball.
Yeah.
Dix did a nice job denying him the ball.
Correct.
And in the second half, it didn't seem like there was any, even when he got going, there was no consistent effort to take his shot away. And that's one of the biggest frustrations that I think Iowa fans have every right to be frustrated about, is the fact that year after year, that seems to be an issue with Fran coach teams. He does not seem to be able to make defensive adjustments other than, well, we're going to go man, or we're going to go back to a different zone, or we're going to try a different zone. Like, there are not individual change-ups made, especially with a guy who's the hot hand, whether it be a guard who can break you down like Jameer Young, or a three-point shooter in the corner, lest I name a bunch of three-point shooters that have burned Iowa who we'd never heard of before, Tony. Like, that is a problem. That is a problem. And when you have Jameer Young, who's been burning Iowa down the stretch, and you have Brock Harding picking him up,
that was malpractice. Like that was awful. There's zero reason someone like Brock Harding should be on Jameer Young.
And yet he was.
Full disclosure, I play like in a 100-team fantasy basketball league, and Jameer Young was my first pick. He's the second leading scorer in the nation, and we shut him down for the first 10 minutes. And I don't know why we stopped doing what we were doing. It just made no sense.
Well, I don't know how much of that. I mean, I had to go back and watch, but I don't know how much of that was.
It was ball denial. It was denying the ball, like you said.
Some of it was, but once he got going, like, it's hard to stop a freight train once it gets going, right? And he is a really good college basketball player. And
but we allowed him to get going.
Are you crying, or why is your screen?
No, I don't know. I remember I got a new webcam even. I have no idea what the heck is happening here. I even showed you I got a new webcam, and this thing's still. I have no idea.
So let me just say this: as you fix your focus issue, I'm going to piggyback off what Kyle said. He is 100% right now. This is not a tournament team right now. And when they were at 3-3, I made the comment that, okay, we're back in the conversation. And when I say we, as a fan base, we can start having that conversation again. They lose to Purdue. I say, okay, they got to win these next two. But I said they absolutely cannot lose at home against Maryland. This was a game they had to have. Now, with that being said, let's take it a step further. Let's keep playing the game. They have to go beat Michigan on Saturday. They have to. Yeah. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They may play themselves out of even consideration this Saturday if they lose to Michigan. That's how, I mean, it would have to be, I don't know, like, there aren't that many opportunities. You brought this up. How many opportunities do you have at quad 1 wins left in the schedule? Like, that's not going to be a quad 1 win, but how many quad 3 losses can you overcome?
5 is the correct answer. And one of those 5 is right on the verge.
And let me
if you're talking about quad 1.
Yeah, let me correct myself, because I'm sure there'll be somebody that's watching this that'll go complain, Cory Brada doesn't know what he's talking about. I understand at Michigan's not a quad 3 loss, but the loss at home was a quad 3 loss as it currently stands.
That's going to be a quad 3 loss. Tonight's game is going to be a quad 3 loss. There's no way Maryland, if Maryland plays well enough to get it to a quad 2 loss, wow, we may be looking at something different, because down the road we could say, well, maybe we're not as bad as we thought we were. And if they do, what I mean by that is if Maryland plays themselves off the quad 3 home loss line, that means maybe we are going to beat and go on a little run after this, because Maryland's maybe better than we think. I don't think they are. You
watched that first half. You know what that first half looked like? That first half, and I understand Maryland's a really good defensive team. I'll give them that. But offensively, they look like a disaster. Yeah. That first half looked very reminiscent of the first half against Michigan. Like, Iowa's ahead, and they're kind of just like, okay. But at no point.
I didn't feel comfortable.
I have a lot of confidence that Iowa was going to win this game. I just never did.
We should have been up by 15 or 20 at half. I'm sorry. With the amount of turnovers they had, with the amount of foul trouble they had, when the fact that their leading scorer, who averages 25 to 30 points a game, is putting up close to a goose egg by halftime. We should be blowing them out of the gym and they should have no reason to want to come out in the second half.
And is this, here we go, Cory's taking shots at people, but Tony, is it fair to say right now that coming into the season, and it was not me, by the way, it was not me, and I don't know that it was you, Payton Sandfort is overrated. He's overrated. He doesn't defend well. He's not a knockdown three-point shooter. Right now, he's very inconsistent from three. He cannot create off the dribble. Most of the shots that he makes are in the mid-range, and he misses as many as he makes. Like we were talking about him having an all Big Ten seat. He ain't an all Big Ten player right now.
No, he went on. I think what happened with Payton Sandfort is a lot of us suffer from recency bias. And what I mean by that is in the second half, in the second half of the season, because remember, wasn't it Payton started like 0 for 19 or something stupid last year from three? No, I mean, I'm just saying it. And then he went on a heater in the second half of the season. We're like, okay, now he's going to come over and he's going to be like the second half player. Maybe he's just a streaky player. That's just a fact.
Yeah, but like that can't be your go-to guy.
No, it can't be. It can't be
your go-to guy.
No, it can't be. And he can't. He's too one-dimensional. But I mean that he's not going to drive and get contact. He's not. His basketball IQ isn't the greatest. What was that turnover where he was right breaking the press and just like picked up the ball and had no idea? And he makes one or two mistakes like that every game.
He had he doesn't know trying to break the press late because once again you have Brock Harding and Payton. I think it was Brock Harding and Payton Sandfort on that end of the court. Brock Harding loses the ball. Payton Sandfort picks it up and tries to launch it down the court, and it's intercepted by Reese, right?
Yep. That happens at least once a game.
That happened.
It seems like
it happened twice today. Yeah. It happened twice today, and then you have the situation. I tweeted out about it, and I'm not trying to get personal with Payton Sandfort. I'm just saying, I this is like just what I see. You had the play in the second half, and I tweeted out about it that it was a turnover, fast break. You had Tony Perkins way out in front.
Yeah, that goes back to, I think.
And then he goes around the back. He goes around the back to Tony, and Tony gets blocked. And that's not on Tony Perkins. That's on Payton Sandfort. Payton just puts that in front of Tony. Tony's thunder chunking that down.
Yeah. I think that goes to what I'm saying with his basketball IQ. I don't think his basketball IQ is that high. We see him make these dumb plays, like we said, once or twice a game. Where it's like, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Well,
but I mean, what else do we have too? I mean,
well,
it's a very
here's our problem right now, and I say our as a fan base because I know I'm not part of the team. Here's the problem right now. You've got a big who's really got a lot of upside, Noah Freeman, who does not know how to defend without fouling.
Correct. I will. Yeah, 100% agree with you.
You're down one of your bigs in Laji Dembele, who also has problems with defending without fouling.
Yes.
You've got your other big in Ben Krikke, who's very efficient at what he does, but he's also very not athletic.
He's horrible. He's not good on defense.
And he's not a good rebounder. We knew that when he came here. He's doing what we expected him to do. Then you have your quote-unquote star player, Payton Sandfort, who's preseason All-Big Ten, who is inconsistent from three, which is supposed to be his strong suit. He is not very good, not very quick laterally, and that's an understatement. He's not a very good defender. You mentioned about his basketball IQ. He's not a very good ball handler. He dribbles the ball really high. You've got a lot of upside with Brock Harding, but he is a young freshman, and I don't agree with putting the ball in his hands as much as they did down the stretch. Why was Tony Perkins not handling the ball down the stretch of this game, Tony?
You have a better answer than I do because I don't have an answer. I don't.
Like, don't you want him having? Don't you like this team right now? Don't you want him having the ball?
When he proved himself. I mean, he's proven himself time and time again. But in this game, what was it, with 2 or 3 minutes left? We had that sideline out of bounds play, and he drove right into the chest of that freshman.
He is the only one that I consistently see, only guard on this team that consistently looks for contact and is really good at finishing through contact, and also happens to be a really good free throw shooter and has a really good assist to turnover ratio. He does not turn the ball over.
He has an infinitely better, basketball IQ than Payton Sandfort. Like, he knows what decisions to make. Because what was they saying before the game? It was like 50 assists to 11 turnovers or something like that. I think it was before.
I'll also say this. He is really, give Tony credit for this. He's older. And so
he is.
I'm not giving Payton Sandfort a free pass. He's been here long enough by now to know. But Tony is older and more experienced. He is a guard. Payton's not supposed to be. I don't know why Payton's handling the ball back there. I don't know why he's handling the ball in the full court.
There's
I
no
understand
good
you're
answer.
going to break a press, but
there's no good answer. There isn't. I mean, I wish I could give you an answer, but I can't. There's no good answers to why he's handling the ball in that situation. I don't agree with that comment. I don't know if you're going to say. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what the Z Paulson. We spent everything we had in the Purdue game.
No, we spent it in the first 5 or 10 minutes of that game. After that,
what does that mean, though? What does that mean? Every game is a battle. Like, I understand Purdue's the best team in the Big Ten, but every game's a battle. They lost to Purdue. Oh, by the way, that game was at home, right?
Yeah.
They've lost.
And they had the electric atmosphere that everyone wants for the Purdue game. But go ahead. Yeah, they've lost 3 games of conference at home. It's going to go ahead.
I was just going to give a shout out to our sponsor, RTI Threads, Cooper DeJean Apparel over at CD3LacesUp.com. I've got the CD3 Laces Up sweatshirt on, despite the loss tonight, folks. Also, Aaron Graves, Carson Shire, Aiden Hall, Zach Lutmer, all part of the RTI Threads lineup. Check out their NIL lineup with select Hawkeye athletes, www.rtithreads.com. That's CD3LacesUp.com and RTIThreads.com.
I'll just close. I'm probably taking way more time than I should, but I will just close saying there's 4 solid quad 1 games left. If they don't win three of the 4 left, we're going to the NIT.
But Tony,
they shouldn't be in this situation.
If they lose to Michigan on Saturday, it's over. Can I just say that? If they lose to Michigan on Saturday, it's over. It's over, Tony.
Okay, now hold on. Let me do this, because here's what I said: 3 of the 4 games. Okay, if they lose at Michigan, okay, but let's just go out further. If they win Wisconsin and Illinois at home, and at Illinois or at Michigan State, if they win 3 of those 4 games,
which they won't.
That's what I'm saying. Like
You're
that's
just
what I'm saying. That's what's over. Yes, I'm hypothetical.
If they lose on Saturday to Michigan and then run the table, they'll be, what would that be? Make them 13-7? Yeah, they're in at 13-7. They're not going to be left out at 13-7. But I'm saying realistically, like, I'm at a point where, first of all, they're way on the outside looking in right now. Had they won tonight, I'd have been like, okay, they're working their way into the conversation still. Win on Saturday, take care of business, and we're at least on par. Now they're behind the 8 ball again. They have to beat Michigan to even stay on the table, in my opinion. All right. And then you beat Michigan, and you're right. I think you still have to get at least 2 of those wins. You probably have to finish 12 wins in this conference with these bad losses. That's what's scary. Like, they don't have enough they don't have very many losses left that they can give up. Maybe 11-9 gets you in, but boy, with a
run in the tournament. 11-9 with a run in it.
How has that worked out for Iowa basketball when you're reliant on a run in the tournament? Go back to 2017. Go back to 2013? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't normally work.
There's one thing that I think a lot of people are missing, is because a lot of people are saying we're not an NIT team. The NIT changed the formula this year. The highest ranked net ranking that is left out of the tournament is an automatic qualifier for each power conference. Iowa is almost a virtual lock to be that highest ranked net ranking.
Repeat that again one more time. Repeat that again.
So the NIT changed how they do their selection because they want more power conference teams in. The team that does not make the NCAA tournament that has the highest net ranking is an automatic qualifier for the NIT.
Well, it's a little early. Okay.
But they'd have to fall very far. I told you after the last postgame, I follow this net very close. They'd have to fall I'm talking like 30 plus spots, Corey.
Well, let's see where they fall after this loss.
I would bet 8. About
and
8.
If they lose to Michigan, because the rankings only come out once a week, or is that every day?
No, once a day. It's every day.
That's every day. So let's see where they fall tomorrow, and then if they lose to Michigan on Saturday, we'll see where they fall.
I don't think the Michigan loss is gonna hurt them as much as people think, because that's a coin flip game. The ones that would really hurt them was tonight, because it's a quad 3 game. Minnesota at home.
You can't get
You
swept.
can't, but I mean, it doesn't matter. It's an individual loss at that point because we've already got that Michigan loss at home on our on our net resume. The Michigan loss on the road is not going to impact it as much because it's on the road and where they fall net. The two that would just absolutely destroy him, and three of them were the one tonight that destroyed him, the Minnesota game at home, and the Penn State game at home. The other games are not going to destroy him as much because of where they're played and where teams are ranked.
Here's the problem. They have no great wins.
No, they don't. They don't.
One,
that's why I said they know three of those four.
They have one good win on a neutral court against Seton Hall.
And that's losing its luster.
Slowly. Is it?
Oh, yeah. Well, Seton Hall was without their best player tonight, and they've now lost two at home. They lost to Creighton and they lost to Providence. And Seton Hall's getting further and further away. They're in about like 15 spots away from being a quad one away. Where they were at one point, they were like 3 or 4 spots where they were like 53, 54. Now they're back in like the mid 60s.
So you're telling me they don't really have any good wins?
They don't. No.
And they have several bad losses. And then, not that the losses, I don't really think losing at Iowa State and at Purdue by 50. No, I don't really think that does anything. It sure don't look good if if it comes down to the eye test. When you look at, hey, they played a really good team out of the Big Ten, really good team out of the Big 12, and they got absolutely blasted. Like, that's not going to help them in a 50-50 decision. But I think we're a long ways away from the tournament committee having a 50-50 decision with this team.
Yeah, they're 20+ spots away.
By the way, that last three, and I understand it's a hard situation. Great pass by Desante Bowen. Great pass by Desante Bowen to even give Sandfort a chance. Sandfort, have you noticed this? Like, he is known to be a shooter, but and I know that was a long three, just inside of half court, but have you noticed that Payton shoots with his arms?
Yeah. He should have took a dribble. He had enough time. It goes back to my basketball IQ thing. He had enough time to catch and take a dribble. Maryland was off him because they weren't going to foul him. They're not going to foul a jump shooter in that situation. He had a chance to gather and compose himself, take a dribble, and then come up. He just turned and fired.
But does he not shoot with his arms?
He does. It's very straight up. It's very, I don't know how to, vertical or however you want to say it.
But like, there's no leg. And like, I knew as soon as he shot that, it was short.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's no chance as soon as I saw left him side. No chance. I don't care how much arm strength you have. You're not going to make a shot like that from half court. But I'm probably people are saying I'm taking too much of your time, so I'll get a hold of you another time.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate the call, sir. Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Appreciate Tony being here. And, of course, we are recapping Iowa's 69-67 brutal defeat. Brutal defeat. That's what I'm going to call it tonight against Maryland as they fall to the Terrapins. And, they are firmly on the way outside looking in right now as it relates to any postseason consideration. And they got a lot of work to do, and it starts with holding serve on the road, which is not easy to do, even against Michigan this Saturday. I want to thank Iowa Smokehouse again. Thank you to these fine folks down in Albia, Iowa. Tasting is believing with their original meat products as well as their other snacking amenities. Use the code Hawkeyes at iowasmokehouse.com and get 15% off your order. You'll also get free shipping on every $50 order. Iowa Smokehouse, tasting is believing. Check it out today. All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. James is on hold. James, welcome.
First off, I'll put this in the chat. I don't even think this team's an NIT team.
Well,
so I think they're playing right now, and I think it's possible that they play on the first weekend of the tournament, of the end of the Big Ten tournament. And what's the last time a team has played in the first weekend of the Big Ten tournament and gotten the NIT?
Yeah, if they play on the first day of the Big Ten tournament, they're not making. Well, I don't know that. I don't know that if you're the, what would that be, the 11 seed in the Big Ten tournament, could you still make the NIT? Yeah, probably. But who cares about me? Do we really care about making the NIT?
No,
I am so over that. Like,
I'm not happy with it either. I mean, you know, my prediction at the beginning, though, we know what we get from Iowa. I'm not happy with it either. But I mean, unfortunately, at the end of the day, you have to take what you would get. I mean, hopefully they can turn it around, but they just don't.
I just don't care.
I mean, I don't care either. But
I don't care. Like, if they miss out on the tournament, okay, see you next year. Like, I just, you know, maybe this is just frustrated Cory coming out here, but I just don't care about the NIT, and I hate even having conversations about it, frankly.
No, I agree, and my bad bringing it up. Then I guess I was
No,
just saying that.
I get it.
Yeah, but no, I feel like it was a tough loss in respect of you're up, but I also agree there was a lot of Fran issues. Like, why is Brock in the game? Why is Tony not in the game? Even my question is, why is Brock in the game? Why is Josh not in the game? I trust Josh more with the ball than I trust Brock with the ball in that situation.
I trust Tony more with the ball. Brock is a true freshman. He's going to get
No, I'm
there.
saying, but I trust Josh Dix more than I trust Brock in that situation, though, where it's like
100%.
where
100%.
it's like I don't know why he wasn't even an option either.
I don't have an answer. Like I say, in the full court turnover that happened late in the game, they came back after the easy bucket for Maryland. What they do, they had Tony and Brock then, but for some reason you had Payton and Brock. It made no sense at all, in my opinion. And I can't. You imagine if I said this to Fran's face, like how much he just ripped the crap out of me. Like I get it, but
I don't get it because how much did Brock play in that game beforehand? I don't think he played a lot before that last stretch.
Well, I'm not like you say. My big question for Fran right now, and I have a number of them, but one of my big questions for Fran would be, what is going on with Dasonte Bowen? What's going on with him? Why can't we seem to get? I mean, like I understand some guys just don't go, but like he's a 4-star out of high school. He's got all the ability, he's got all the upside. Why is there so little confidence in what he's giving them right now?
In that situation, and I know this might maybe just me spewing nonsense, but in that situation, I feel like I trust Dasonte more than I trust Josh, or not Josh, Brock. In retrospect of like he's always been through it.
Yeah, but apparently
he does have tendency to turn it over sometimes. So I do understand that point, but
Fran does not feel that way. Obviously, he put the ball in Brock Harding's hands late in the game while Dasonte Bowen was on the bench.
Yeah. Now my question is, if we're not. And I know we live in a world where it's like a portal world, right? So if we're not going to make the tournament, and I don't think this happens, but I think it would be cool to kind of maybe see the freshmen kind of get more play just to kind of see what you could have for the future. Obviously, if you're not going to make the NCAA tournament, if that makes sense. Like if you know you're not going to make the NCAA tournament, might as well get some of the freshmen a little bit more run. I feel like just so you know what you have for the future. Because, Patrick and all them aren't going to be there. So you got to know kind of in the portal world we live in, I feel like, if you know you're not going to make it. Obviously, if you get to that point.
That's not Fran's style, though.
I know, but I don't know what your thoughts on that would be. Obviously, I don't.
I mean, all these freshmen are playing a lot right now.
I mean, yeah, you're right, but I don't know.
How we're just complaining about Brock Harding maybe having the ball in his hands.
Yeah, but that's because this is a situation where you could.
Bryce Sandfort doesn't look like he has any speck of confidence right now on either end. I'm surprised he's playing at all, but they've already burned his red shirt, so I guess you might as well play him, especially if you're not watching. Frankly, down the stretch, this is my preference. Down the stretch, once Owen Freeman was out, for defensive purposes, I'd probably have ridden Evan Bronze in the game a lot longer than they did, and I would have had Josh Dix and Tony Perkins handling the ball, and you probably have to keep Payton Sandfort in there. And then, who's the fifth guy? Is it Patrick? Is it Dasonte? It might be Dasonte. Maybe you go 3 guards with Dasonte, Tony, and Josh, but I sure wouldn't go 3 guards the way they did. Brock, was it Brock, Josh, and Dasonte at one point?
Yeah.
I thought Fran had some odd lineups today. I just thought it was an odd, and I understand they were down a guy and they had guys in foul trouble. So I just thought it was an oddly played game from that standpoint.
Yeah, maybe because Ology was out too, that kind of threw a wrench in a little bit because you have another forward out in a little bit, so I might have made his choice different. But one more thing I need to bring up is that last play, I feel like the defense wasn't great. Like, why? First off, you're not helping him. And it's like Payton just gave him the lane in a way. Like, he didn't try to cut him off, if that makes sense. Even to try to, like, redirect anything, he literally just, like, let him go right by him. I feel like you should have just cut him off, and send him in the middle instead of just letting him drive right by because there was no real help in the backside because Creaky just, like, watched him.
Lack of lateral quickness, lateral response, and response off the screen on the previous 3 was poor. Nobody helped off the screen. I think it was Brock completely.
Yeah, Brock got screened on the one, and then nobody was
walled off. And I get it. It's Julian Reese versus Brock Harding, but somebody's got to either help and understand who's got the ball in his hands and not allow a wide open 3.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You have to understand who the shooters are, and that's one thing, like you said, that I've always struggled with, and I feel like it's never gonna change. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But it was a tough loss tonight, and like you said, we have to, if we want any resemblance of even having a chance to the tournament, you can't lose at Michigan.
I agree.
So I feel like
It must win. Must win.
yeah, pretty much
And
is.
it's not like, I'm not saying that if they lose Saturday to Michigan, I stop watching, but I have next to no confidence right now. I'm not done on this team, but I'm at the point where I think they have a 10% chance to make the tournament, maybe 15. If they lose on Saturday against Michigan, I think they have less than a 5% chance to win the tournament, and that makes me jealous.
And I agree with you. And if they lose on Saturday, they have to win a lot of big games, like Illinois twice, Wisconsin. Like,
Right.
and then they're not going to. I'm saying, but like they would have to just to get even a sniffing chance at getting into the tournament if they lose at Michigan on Saturday. But
did you see in the chat? Apparently, Lemansky's got a question for you. He says, "James, is the season over?"
no, but my point was, I was saying if it a point where it's like you're like 3 and whatever, or like you're like 3 and let's say, so where are we right now? 3 and 5. If you lose the next 2 and you get to like 3 and 7, like you play Ohio State next after that, like at some point there could be chances. I'm not saying it is now, but we already lost to Michigan once, so there's a chance we could do it again. And Indiana is a tough team to play. Don't we play at Indiana?
I don't even know.
Let me look right now. I got it up 1 second.
Yep.
Yeah, we play at Indiana, so that's a tough one game too.
James, I'll let you go. Good to talk to you as always. We've got men and women on Saturday, so and we may hear from you if we have a pop-in live show before then.
Yep, sounds good. Enjoy your night, and it's a frustrating loss, but sometimes we can bounce back, hopefully, and be a better team off of this. And then since it's a tough loss, sometimes it makes you even more motivated. Losing close makes you more motivated than losing well sometimes. So hopefully that can change their momentum, and I'll talk to you later.
There you go, sir. Appreciate it, sir. All right. Let's go. One more plug for RTI Threads. Yes, check out all the stuff over at CD3 Laces Up, rtithreads.com. I got to plug our sponsors as much as possible this evening because, boy, it's sometimes not easy to hop on a show after a game like that. But we've got a familiar face here. We have got Tony Perkins' uncle Frank Henderson is with us.
Hey, Cory, how you doing?
Not very well. How are you?
Man, long day. Just got back home. Just got in the house. So happy to be here.
I'm assuming you watched the game.
Yes, I did. Yep.
I'm not asking you. I'm not going to ask you to say anything as it relates to criticism on the head coach. But I will. I said it earlier in the game. I'll say it, or in the show, I'll say it again about the stat line tonight. Your nephew having 9 shot attempts is unacceptable, and not having the ball in his hands down the stretch more is unacceptable. I thought it was a very curious to extremely odd decision by Fran McCaffrey to put the ball in Brock Harding's hands as much as he did. I got a lot of confidence in Brock's future, but the present now at guard with the ball in his hands is Tony Perkins and sometimes Josh Dix. I don't know what's going on with Desante Bowen. I said that a few minutes ago. It seems like there's just no confidence in that young man. I have a bad feeling that he's going to be wide gone after this year because that seems to be the process with these guards that end up, whether you're talking Christian Williams, Aaron Eulis, etc., Joe Toussaint. So anyways, I don't know if you have takes. I've kind of ranted myself to death already. We got a couple of people that I know want to ask a couple of questions, but do you have any thoughts first?
What you said, Cory, was a very extensive take, and I say extensive because, like you mentioned, there's a multitude of things that happened during that game that could have changed the game's results, and we could have won by a very large margin. I did not know about the 9 shot attempts. I was watching the game, but I was kind of helping my uncle out, who was kind of dealing with some health issues, so I was kind of back and forth. You're right, 9 shot attempts. We need more from that. We need more. We need more aggressiveness from Tony offensively. I just think primarily on the very last possession of the game, again, I trust Fran 100%, but I think a different lineup should have been in the game for that last stop.
Well, first of all, I'm not. Listen. Maybe I'll go back and say Tony wasn't aggressive enough. I don't at all. There was not one point in this game where I thought Tony Perkins isn't aggressing enough or isn't attacking enough. He's got to get the ball in his hands. And to me, that comes back to coaching, right? I mean, you're a former coach, right? If a guy like Tony Perkins, who seems to always want the ball, and when he gets the ball, he wants to attack the rim. He's looking for contact. He's looking to get the free throw line, which he did. He scored 20 points on 9 field goal tries, only 4 makes because he was getting to the line at will. Isn't that come down to like the coach is going to put the ball in the best player's hands? We saw Kevin Willard do it with Jameer Young.
Yeah, no, you're 100%. I think any situation, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, whatever the case may be, give the ball to your best player in the last 6 of the game. You know what I'm saying? Because, that's why you have those guys. You have senior leadership. He's proven himself. I mean, he's a Big Ten champion, and he was a starter during that period. Give him the ball. Let him showcase what he can do. Again, I was just speaking on the 9-shot attempts because, again, I was in and out of the game. But, him and I talk about, for me personally, this is just an uncle speaking. I think he should get at least up 15 attempts a game, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Just to kind of weigh games like tonight. But again, I think tonight's game came to we struggled the last 6 minutes. We didn't score very, very effectively as we wanted to. And just last possession, I said this on the last time I was on the podcast with you, Cory. Defense, our on-ball defense is not the best. I said Tony is probably our best on-ball defender. Secondly, probably, Patrick, just because of his length, But did he foul out? I'm wondering why he didn't get back in the game.
Patrick?
Yeah.
No, I think the only person let me grab the official box score. I believe the only person that fouled out was Owen Freeman.
Yeah, I think last possession, when you have guards who are crafty and trying to win the game, either Tony on the last possession guarding the guy with the ball or second best Patrick. Patrick 6'7", 6'8", and the guy drove by and got a layup. That's a tough layup if you have Patrick in the game.
Well, first of all, Josh Sticks is a good defender.
Yeah.
And he's 6'4", 6'5", but I don't think Iowa knows how to defend ball screens.
Yeah,
I think defend ball screens.
I think what happened was when he came off the ball screen, the slight hezzy got Payton to sit up a little bit, and then he just kept going, and he just made the layup,
Yeah. Well, a caller made the interesting point earlier. I don't know that you have Payton Sandfort in the game at that point. Because Payton say what you want about Payton, and I good kid, can get hot from 3. I understand what he offers, but defensively, he is oftentimes a liability because he's very slow laterally, as has Ben Krikke. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Ben Cricke's got to be in the game there with Owen Freeman out. I get that, but there's a reason why. I think there's a pretty obvious reason why Maryland isolated Payton Sandfort off the screen.
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah.
Doug says, "Can you tell us anything? Give us insight on Tony potentially coming back for a 5th year. Do we know what Tony's plans are for next season?"
As of right now, we don't know. I don't know. I mean, like I said, he loves being a Hawkeye. I mean, I think how the rest of the Big Ten season goes, how the big tourney kind of pans out. If we make the NCAA tournament or NIT, I think that'll be a call that he'll make when the season's over with at that point.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate the super chat, Doug and Lemansky. Frank, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks, Lemansky. I appreciate that. Let it be here.
We're going to kind of run through some calls fairly quickly. I do not want to be here for an hour and a half. I'll just be quite frank. I'll be frank with everybody. No pun intended. All right. That was not premeditated. Let's go to Cory, our next Iowa Smokehouse caller. Cory, welcome.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Going all right, man.
Yeah, I feel that this loss certainly didn't help me either. I just getting over a cold flu here, so it didn't help my spirits at all. I guess I got a few questions because I'm a very casual basketball fan, but I've been getting into it more and more as the years go on. What were we doing in the first half compared to what we did in the second half? It seemed like something shifted. Was it Maryland's game plan, or was it something Fran didn't do or did do? And it just seemed like Maryland at will was having their way in the second half with their scheme or our lack of scheme or
I'm going to throw most of these questions to Frank because
I guess I'm maybe directing it more towards Frank, but
and let me just say this: the only thing I said earlier regarding Cory's question was, it seemed like they were making a concerted effort with Josh Dix to deny Jameer Young the ball, and that seemed to just kind of go away in the second half. Do you have thoughts on that, Frank?
Yeah, I would say for the second half, I think what happened was, and I also saw a stat on the Big Ten Network that Maryland is a better second half team than they are first half. I think they showed like a stat line statistically throughout the season. They're better effectively on defense and offense in the second half I think they're best in the Big Ten as far as second half production out of their team. So that takes a play, and that just comes to coaching. I think when you go back to that locker room, making adjustments, saying, hey, we didn't do this right, we didn't do that right. Here's our X's and O's. Let's stick to our principles and morals, and let's exploit, Iowa's weaknesses and just see if we can win the game. And that's what they did.
Yeah, I got you. Sure. Yeah, it seemed like we brought our lunch pails but forgot our lunch today.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't see the NCAA tournament happening this year at all. As optimistic as I usually am, I just think it's a tough year that we are going to. I think we're going to make the most of it. I think the NIT is a definite possibility, but I think this is just a year that we're going to have those aches and pains, and we're going to have to grow through them, and it's not going to happen overnight, unfortunately.
These seniors, this team, including the seniors, led by the seniors, need to recognize and accept and embrace pressure, because that's all they have right now on Saturday is pressure. And I know that this whole season is not dependent on one game, but tonight was a big game. To lose at home to this Maryland team that was coming into this game 3-5 in the conference and 11-8 overall. This is a game on Saturday against a bad Michigan team, maybe the worst team in the Big Ten. You've got to go on the road and win. And let me tell you something, Cory. If they go beat Michigan on the road, even though Michigan's bottom barrel right now in this conference, if they go get a Big Ten win on Saturday, that will give them some swag back.
Yeah.
That will. And if they do that, like I say, I am not at the point where I'm saying they're done. But I think if they lose to Michigan, it's going to be next to impossible.
I say when it comes to like senior leadership, Frank, and like freshmen coming in, is it just me, or do I feel like we're asking a lot of our freshmen this year, and are we trying to get leadership from freshmen, or do the seniors need to step up in this class and try to lead this team further on down the road here for the rest of the season? It seems to me like Fran is asking a lot of the freshmen this year.
Well, he has a pretty good freshman class,
Yeah, no, I get it, but it just would seem that we'd benefit if we would have our seniors take that lead, because it just seems like some of them sometimes we're lost out there. I mean, it just seems like we're lost.
Who's lost out there?
It just seems like Harding, with as much potential as he has, just seems flustered at times.
Well, yeah, but he's a freshman.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but he doesn't seem like he's getting that leadership from others. I don't know. Maybe. I mean,
I'll say this: they're not very experienced in the backcourt. They lost a really experienced player last year in Aaron Eulis. They've recently lost Jordan Bohannon and Connor McCaffrey. They've lost a lot of pieces back there that they could have. Yeah. And Tony Perkins, I think. I mean, what more? I don't know what Tony's doing behind the scenes.
It seems like all signs point to Tony as he needs to be the leader for this team. He just he needs more shot attempts, or he needs more.
He needs more shot attempts, but he's the only guy that I consistently see each and every game taking it to the defense and setting the lead by example. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
He's the only dude that consistently seems to
go the rack, seek contact, and earn it.
Tony
like he's willing to go to battle.
Yeah, he's consistently giving us a glimpse of those seasons that we had Jordan Bohannon, Connor McCaffrey, that championship run team. It's almost like he's the last of the Mohicans of that squad that's actually showing that effort of that, hey, I want to win the game, defensive stops, key rebounds, offensive scoring. Like, we're seeing that slow progression with the Owen Freeman coming on board. I think Brock Harding, in my opinion, has a bright future,
his untapped potential is there for sure.
Yeah, you could definitely see he has flashes.
But you could see that that freshman come out with him. Occasionally he'll just get flustered in the moment. I think
it's not his. It's also, here's the thing. I could argue it's not his fault that he's being thrust into such a huge position. I thought it was bad coaching. That's my opinion,
Okay.
Corey. Bad coaching.
No, I can see it.
I can see as much as he did down the stretch, to where it gives him a chance to be exposed. When you have more experienced guys like Tony Perkins, Josh Dix, and even DeSante Bowen, who's older, and I know has struggled some, but that's where Fran has evaluated the guards right now.
Yeah, why is DeSante not? Yeah, it just seems like he fell off the face of the planet lately, and I've been also confused by that, which is, I think, peculiar.
And that could just be confidence with him. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody can play under Fran McCaffrey's, game plan either. Not saying he's a bad player. Some guys just doesn't adjust as fast. But again, in my opinion, the last few minutes of the game, I do think Patrick having that height advantage and experience in the game would have made a difference.
No,
Corey, appreciate you calling, sir, and we'll plan on talking with you on Saturday.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. We've got Doug, who's been waiting patiently. Doug, got the fresh cut, looking good.
Yeah.
You, Doug.
Yep.
Good, Doug.
That's someone asked me. I did get the Swarm vodka too, but I ain't drinking it tonight. We're just gonna keep it calm and level right now. It was a tough loss. I thought, somebody asked what the difference from the first half and the second half is. Maryland started making some shots, and Young went off. I thought, we can talk about a lot of things. I guess, Frank, I don't know what all your experiences as a coach or a player, but what is some of the things that we needed to do to break that press? Not have Brock had a really costly turnover. So did Payton. Is putting your nephew back there to bring the ball up what we need to do? How do you break that pressure? Get in the front court, because getting those turnovers really hurt.
Yeah, some of those key turnovers you're talking about, I did hear about them during the game, but I missed some of those turnovers during that press, so I maybe not be able to answer your question fully. When it comes to pressure, when it comes to press, you got to slow down the game and make the game yours. I think we can't fall under the scrutiny and the franticness of like, oh my gosh, if we make a turnover, we're gonna lose the game. No, get the ball to the court, give it to your vets, get in past half court, run an offensive set that's effective, and get us some points. But I did kind of miss those key points in the game when they did have those key turnovers.
Yeah, there was a couple there. Brock had one where it was just him one-on-one with the guy, and he couldn't break the guy down. The other one was with Payton. They rotated it back to Payton, and he just threw a really bad pass. And, every team has a different press break, and I was just, like I said, I thought, as Corey's already said, Josh and your nephew need to be the ones bringing that ball up.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we have 12 games remaining. The season ain't over. They have to play 12 games no matter what.
Right.
I want to win as many of those 12 as we can. I don't want to talk about the NIT or the NCAA today. Let's just get Michigan, and we better get Michigan, because anyone that spells Doug, D-U-G, is not a very bright guy. Now, I'm not trying to get on his academics, but that might have been the wrong thing to say about that dude. But again,
listen, we can all agree on this. They have to beat Michigan Saturday.
Yeah.
And there's pressure to go up to Ann Arbor and win.
Yeah.
And I'll be there Saturday. I'll be at Michigan on Saturday.
Well, if they don't listen, if the officials try to get involved, I want you to run down there and I want you to tackle them. And we'll see whether it's Paul Slezak or, I'm sorry, they pronounce it Sells, don't they, Doug? Paul Sells or Courtney Green, or what's the other guy that Fran stared down? What's his name?
I figured. I don't think I'm tackling anybody Saturday, because if you've been to jail, you're not getting out till Monday. They have to be at work on Monday.
That's true. It's a Saturday game.
It's a Saturday game.
But, again, this one hurt more than Michigan, for the fact is for 30 minutes, I thought we were going to win this game. And then, like I said, Reese started doing his thing. I don't know what that family has against Iowa, but they don't like Iowa too much, I don't think.
Well, he can't shoot free throws. He looks like Andres Biedrins shooting free throws.
Yeah.
Andres Biedrins, Frank?
Yeah.
You remember that fool? Arms straight up,
Yeah.
a little wrist action, one of the most ugliest shots I've ever seen. But I give him credit. He made some free throws late in the game.
Yeah. This one was tough. And, I don't want to just echo all the things that everyone's already been saying. We really appreciate Tony being here. He's represented the school and the basketball team with class, and just we got to play better on at Chrysler Arena, and it is a winnable game. You got to win the winnable games if you want to go to the postseason. And there isn't that much difference. Like even today, there's not that much difference from a win and a loss. A couple possessions here or there, a turnover here and there, a missed shot. Frank knows that. He's played a lot of basketball. You know, we could be talking about a win very easily today, but there were some dumb and bad things that happened, and hopefully they don't happen on Saturday. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate you.
All right. We've got, I believe, 2 callers left here. Doc from Sioux City is sending in a message to our text line, which rarely gets used during the shows, but I'll go ahead and read his message. Doc says, with everyone agreeing Patrick should not start, convenient to lose tonight with him not playing much, ? Well, let me remind you, Doc, that they also won while he was out. So I don't think we can use the whole cause and effect thing there. Now, I think what Frank said earlier is a fair argument. Maybe going with a little bit more length there. I don't have a lot of confidence in Patrick as an on-ball defender, Frank. Quite frankly, again, no.
Well, and I'm saying on the sense of let's just play. I mean, let's say me and your coaches, Cory. I mean, if it's last possession, and the guards are the ones primarily driving the ball downhill to try to score. Let's just say Payton wasn't the guy in, Patrick was the guy in. You know how tough it is to score a left-hand layup floater off the glass against a 6'7" kid, 6'8" kid against a kid who's 6'4". It's a different type of adjustment you have to make. We were literally 1 rebound away from winning the game. Plus Patrick, even if he does have an off night offensively, he still gives you those key rebounds. He's still a body out there. He's still a 6'8" body that can cause havoc in that paint. Because I think one of the viewers had commented, said, hey, we were getting, crucified on the boards, between Ben and Owen. Patrick's our only other elite rebounder. You know what I'm saying? So why not have him in,
Elite rebounder? You're calling Patrick an elite rebounder?
Hey, on this team and this roster, I will put Patrick in the rebound.
Well, I'll say this. I think that says more about the roster around him. No offense to Patrick McCaffrey. Now, he only played 9.5 minutes, had 2 boards tonight.
Yeah.
But I've been critical of him in the past for not. I think he has ability to be a better rebounder because he's a very long and athletic kid.
He's an athletic kid that can rebound.
I agree with you on that.
He might be having a tough year. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with him. But again, he definitely would have been a huge factor with more minutes in today's game for sure.
Let's go to our next Iowa Smokehouse caller. We've got Cory on hold. Cory, welcome.
I'm on. You got me on audio. Always got to do audio.
You're on video. You're on the big video, Cory. And
awesome.
You're the third Cory to the show.
Okay, if you read my text, this was the Tony Perkins game. This was supposed to be a W.
Yeah.
The only thing that screwed this up was Freeman fouling out. This was going to be Perk and Freeman, and you look years back when you get a defense that tightens up on you. We've had the Andre Woolridges, we've had the BJ Armstrongs, and we've had the Ronnie Lesters, and that's what you got to have to be successful in the tournament. Guys are going to lock down. You got to have a guy that's tough enough, physically strong enough to drive it and to either pull up and hit the runner or dish it. Tony is that guy. Now, I kept asking myself, can he do this all night? Because, man, he's running 94 feet, getting the steal, taking it to the hole for the dunk. I asked myself, can he keep this up all night? Well, then Harding comes in, spells him, and does a nice job. And then I'm thinking, okay, now it's Saucy T time. Let him do his work. And then it comes down to the end of the game. And, all along, these guys were playing great help defense. Guy takes the ball and tries to penetrate. We stop the ball, and then we get another guy to help out, double him, and we adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Why did we just let one guy taken to the cleaners at the end of the game. We never stopped the ball. We never got any help defense. And if we're going to leave a guy isolated on their main threat, why wouldn't we put Perk on him? And I just
leading scorer in the country, Cory. And let me tell you something else. There was a play earlier in that second half, and I didn't mention it earlier. There's a play earlier in the second half where Jameer Young basically took the ball full court, and Dix tried to communicate someone else to pick up Jameer Young, and he went uncontested to the rim for a layup. Like, those are the types of defensive breakdowns you cannot have, especially on Jameer Young.
Right.
Yeah, but I've been impressed with our help defense at times throughout the season, and I think that there's hope there. I mean, if you look at that first half, we had a lot of good help defense, and then when it counted most at the end of the game, it was non-existent. And that coupled with, okay, if you're gonna let someone isolate, well, then put our best guy that can deal with it and that's got enough dog in him to put up a fight. And that's Saucy T. That's Tony Perkins. He's the only guy. But I mean, all this said, I'll still say this. There's still hope for this team because we do have that guy that you can give the ball at crunch time. Now, you got to give him the ball at crunch time, but I'm saying Tony Perkins is that guy. We got to have that guy in the tournament when they lock everybody down, and you got to get a score, or you got to get to the line. That man is Tony Perkins, and we've got him, but we've got to use him. We got to utilize him properly. Secondly, your shot doesn't always travel, not even to the home games. And so you've got to be able to rely on some semblance of defense. And I think that in the first half, we exhibited the type of defense that we can create to get stops and to have a chance in crunch time. Why we didn't continue that in the second half and it just disappeared, I don't know. But in my true feelings are, as long as we can keep Perk in the game and keep Owen Freeman in the game, we have a chance. And
well, they get, like you said, Cory, they got to get the ball to Tony Perkins. So we can talk about how he needs to be able to be the guy in the tournament. They got to get to the tournament first before he can be the guy in the tournament. And I agree with you, though. In order to do that, they have to put the ball in his hands late in games. He's the only guy that I have almost total confidence in. And Frank, I've been critical of Tony at times.
Yes, yeah.
Lack of consistency in some areas. He's not the most consistent three-point threat. But if there's one guy I trust with the ball late in the game right now, it's not Payton Sandfort, it's Tony Perkins.
Tony has really grown in this past year. He is the most reliable. He is him. I mean, Tony is the man on this team, and he's got to be our go-to guy. And then he can dish it to Freeman. Freeman is the other go-to guy in crunch time. Cricky should be, I don't know what happened to him tonight. He was just a little bit off. But between those three, I just see if we can get them into the tournament, I see Tony driving it and then have his choice of dishing it to Cricky or Freeman down low, because your 3-point shot doesn't always travel, and it doesn't get it done in the tournament. You got to get it done in the paint. Well, we've got a little bit of a formula here. We just got to get the doggone ball in Tony's hands. Let him drive it. Let him create. If they want to dog him, he's going to draw a foul or he'll take them to the hole. But you've got a formula there between, I think, Cricky, Freeman, and Perk, that if they can get it into the tournament, And if they can have Perkins bring the ball down, that way you know he's going to have it in his hands. And I think that's the way to go, and spell him, periodically, so that he's fresh for the down the stretch. But I think that's the formula. And this was supposed to be the Tony Perkins game because he carried this team. He was the only thing working, him and Freeman, at the beginning of the game. And it's a damn shame that this doesn't get labeled as the Tony Perkins game because he deserves it to be, but you can't because it's not a W. But anyway, go Hawks. And because of Tony Perkins, I live in Michigan. I might just have to drag my boys down to Ann Arbor because of Tony Perkins. There's hope. So go Hawks.
I'll be there Saturday, Cory.
Ryan, Cory says that Tony Perkins is him. Ryan, are you him? You're muted, Ryan. You must not be. Any response to what Cory had to say? Oh, there we go, Ryan.
There we go, Ryan. There you go.
Hey, gentlemen. How are you tonight?
Wonderful.
Doing good, Ryan. How you doing?
Cory, you are in a fantastic mood, no doubt about it. I'll get to the game in a second, but I'm kind of curious what Franklin thinks about this. When Dr. Tom Davis, Cory was probably only in high school and Dr. Tom Davis was around. And we scheduled home and homes with the likes of Kansas, Arizona, Duke, UCLA. Do you think like the only major P5 we play preseason's Iowa State? What do you think about getting back to that? I mean, you can call this a quote-unquote rebuilding year. I reject that because you got Patrick, Cricky, even though he's a first-year Big Ten player, Sandfort a third year, Tony is a fourth year. This is an experienced enough team when you got Big Ten Freshman of the Year arguably in your starting lineup to make more hay than what we're doing. Is it scheduling? What is it? We should be a little better than we are.
Yeah, to your point, Ryan, I think, we should get back to that tough, power scheduling to start the season off to kind of prepare our guys for games like this. But I think that starts from Fran. I think when you do schedule those Dukes and those Carolinas and those Arizonas as your first, non-conference games, you honestly look down your roster to see, can we compete on that level? Now, when you had that, Chris and Keegan and Jordan Bohannon and Toussaint and Connor and Tony and Patrick, I mean, that's a hell of an 8, So he was kind of doing it because I remember, I think, COVID year, I think they played Cory? They played North Carolina.
Yeah.
That was Garza's last year, I believe. Or was it Garza's last year?
He was a junior. I think it was his junior year.
I think he had a COVID year.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was his last year, but they played Gonzaga that year in addition to playing, right? Wasn't that the year? Was it the year?
They played Gonzaga, North Carolina. I mean, they had a hell of a non-conference, but that comes down to looking at your team to see, okay, do I have faith in these guys to make that call to say, hey, Arizona, can we play you? Hey, North Carolina, can we play you on this day? I think with him bringing in on Freeman and Brock Harding and a younger team, I think he was just kind of trying to pace himself. But just the tone of tonight's game, even though we lost, I'm still confident because the Big Ten is very consistent and inconsistent. I know that probably doesn't make sense, but we've seen wilder things in the Big Ten. And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Hawkeye basketball fan, but I was kind of shocked when we won the Big Ten tournament. I'm not gonna lie. When we won, I said, "Oh, we won!"
When you got the best player in the conference, you always have a chance, and we're seeing that on the women's side, right?
Right. That's very true. So even though we have 12 games left, I'm very confident that we will win against Michigan. Yeah, we should have won tonight against Maryland going into Michigan, but I think we have a shot of beating Michigan Saturday. We have a shot of beating IU at IU. I think Tuesday we play IU Tuesday. So we do have
They're going to win at IU on Tuesday. Is that what you said?
for sure. For sure, 100%.
Well,
brother.
they got to make Tony the focal point of this.
They got to get him
whole thing.
involved more than 9 shots. He had 19 attempts on Saturday.
Let me ask you a question.
Cory.
Corey, I'm gonna ask you a question, and I don't know this, but you may know this. You're the statistician on here. Since Tony's been at Iowa, how many times have he lost to IU?
Once. Twice.
Well, that'd be they
3
won
times
last
the
year at
lady.
IU. I don't know. I'd have to go back. I know they very rarely lost with Jordan Bohannon against IU.
My point.
Part of that was
where is Tony from? He's from Indiana. I hate to say this, but he has some type of vendetta against IU because they just didn't recruit him. So, that adds to that extra swag. Okay, yes, IU. So he's gonna go out there and compete. He's gonna be like that with anybody. But we've seen wilder things. I think this team isn't over with. I think we can still make the NCAA tournament. I think we can. The last 12 games. I'm pretty confident we can go 7-12.
7-5 in the last 12. 7 of 12. Is that what you said?
7 of 12. Yep.
But 7 of 12, is that good enough to get you in?
Maybe play in.
That's 7-5 to finish the season is 10-10 at the end of the year. Are you in the tournament at 10-10? I don't think you are.
Well, who else in the NCAA is doing well, Corey?
Depends on who those wins are.
It's a very lopsided year this year, to be honest with you. Nobody's consistent at all. Unless you just put the Blue Bloods in there and just let them go against each other. But there's not really a powerhouse this year besides Purdue. I mean, where do we fall even in ranking? Why I'm saying this in the Big Ten? Where's Iowa right now currently?
You're right about this. There's a log jam in the Big Ten Conference. And Iowa, I think at one point when IU lost on Friday, Iowa had gotten up to 4 or 5 in the conference.
You see my point?
With 2 losses. And remember, they're not competing against Big Ten teams necessarily heading into the NCAA tournament. They're competing against the rest of the Division I. So heading into next game, I think they're probably.
So if we end top 5 in the Big Ten standings, do you think we still make the tournament? If we end top 5, make it to the second round of the Big Ten, can we still have a plug against the NCAA?
Of course.
But they got to finish. It'd be very hard for them to finish. They're not going to finish top 5 in the conference at 10-10.
Well,
top 5 may get you 7 or 8 in the conference.
Yeah, true. But I think when it's all said and done, we'll be either 5 at the worst 6.
Real quick, last question here, and then Ryan, if you have any parting remarks. But Frank, I want to get this question from Sensorized TV. How bad do we miss not having a legit 7-footer on the team? Talks about needing size badly. Owen gives you some good size at 6'10", but he's a freshman. He deals with foul trouble. Struggles to defend without fouling. Good shot blocker, but teams are starting to recognize that. You notice he's not getting as many block shots, and they're drawing more fouls against him. He's went up against a couple of good bigs in Edey and Reese back-to-back. But just your thoughts on that question.
It's the Big Ten. You're a freshman playing the Big Ten Conference. It's a learning curve. Like you said, he's a freshman.
A big thought I had was, do you feel Owen is getting kind of hosed on some of these calls? He has lately been in habitual foul trouble. I thought he physically played really well against Angel Reese tonight, and he, 2 out of the 5 fouls were not good.
I don't know if Angel Reese plays for Maryland.
Angel Reese and Julian.
Oh,
Reese.
I'm sorry. He's got the face of an angel. That's what I meant to say. But anyway, he's an angel.
Yeah. He's an angel.
If Angel Reese had a little, that's what. Are they related?
Nah, but we were following you though. We were following you, Ryan.
Ryan,
but about Freeman, all kidding aside, he really seems to get a little bit of quick whistles, and I don't.
he's got to stay vertical.
Okay, on that one, I
No,
absolutely
not on that
agree.
one. He's been doing this every game. He does not stay vertical. He's constantly going for shot blocks. He's constantly bringing his arms down. I don't feel sorry for him. If you're going to bring your arms down, constantly going for shot blocks, you're going to pay eventually. Yeah. Teams are getting him up out of his stance. He doesn't stay down. He falls for shot fakes. I'm going to go on a limb and say Gary Close would agree with me on this one. Hopefully we get Gary Close back on Saturday, Ryan, and we can talk to him. But I just think he's gotten hosed on some calls, yes, but I just get tired of seeing those arms go down. He's got to learn how to defend without fouling.
Yeah. He's getting better. He's getting better.
Thank you, guys. And Angel had good game tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. All right. Let's get on out of here. Frank, I appreciate you hopping on here for a few minutes. The Hawkeyes falling to Maryland. 69-67. Iowa, our RTI Threads player of the game, Tony Perkins, with his 20 points. I thought they needed to get him the ball more. Had 3 rebounds, 20 points on just 9 shot attempts, but he was really good from the free throw line, 11 of 11. He's got a knack for having those types of games, man. I think back to Illinois a year ago at home when he was 15 of 15 or something insane. But 11 of 11 tonight, made a couple of clutch ones down the stretch. Should have had the ball in his hands more for playmaking purposes and for just getting the ball up the court, in my opinion. Ben Krikke struggled, did not reach double figures, 9 points on the night. Owen Freeman had 14 points, 9 rebounds, but fouled out. As I mentioned, 20 for Tony Perkins. And then how about this? 6 fouls drawn by Tony Perkins. So again, just goes to show you he is by far, I think, he and Owen Freeman are by far the most aggressive offensive threats on this team. Mm-hmm. Notwithstanding Payton Sandfort, who is a jump shooter and is very streaky, to say the least. 6 points for Payton tonight. 0 for 4 from 3. Josh Sticks, 8 points, 2 for 4 from 3. Made a couple of big second half threes, but they needed more from him. Not a lot of minutes for Patrick. Not a lot of minutes for DeSante or Price. Brock did play 15 minutes, had 2 points, 1 of 5 from the field. So I've been critical of enough. Appreciate everybody being here, and we will be back. Let's see. We've got women's hoops on Saturday, so stay tuned. We may have a live show before then. We're working on getting a Hawkeye Hangout live show going here in the next couple of days, but we've got Iowa and Maryland. I'm sorry, that's the men. Iowa, Nebraska, the women, taking on the Cornhuskers of Nebraska in Carver on Saturday, 1 p.m. Central Time on BTN, and then at 4 p.m. that day, it's the Hawkeye men trying to bounce back on the road in Ann Arbor. And Frank will be there to tackle the officials when they screw up. So, Frank, anything I'm missing? I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy.
Nah, go Hawks.
Go Hawks, folks. We'll see you back tomorrow, and then we'll see you back definitely for live post-game shows on Saturday. Have a great night.